What's up? This is Matt Cheese. I'm reporting in from my super shitty outpost near the city of Kavala, and my mission today is to show you guys the new features and functions of the update for C2 Command and Control. That is version 1.4.4. First things first, I now have a color code available that's going to tell you whether a waypoint is a part of a plan or an existing order. Right here, for example, you can see these waypoints are green, so that means this is the planning stage. As soon as I commit, these are going to turn blue, so you know this is an existing plan. If you place more down, they're going to be green until you actually commit and they turn blue. So that's great because now you have a way how to tell what waypoints are actually being executed and which ones are only inside of your brain at the given time. Also, you might have realized that these markers are a little bit bigger now, and that's pretty important because they were a pain in the ass to hit before, and now it's easier, and that comes into play if you look at this slightly enhanced right-click context menu that we have now. Before you only had the go codes, and those are still here of course, but now you also have stance on travel, the speed, the stance on arrival, and then you also have an option to delete individual waypoints which you didn't have before. And also now this is fully interactive, so if I change the stance, the guy is also gonna adjust his stance, so this is perfectly working on the fly. Alright, that's nice and all, but let's take a look at the first real highlight of this update, and it's something that you guys have been requesting for a long time, namely waypoint loops. So before I get into this, I need to tell you that I disbanded the control and dragging thing to synchronize waypoints. And before you tell me that I'm crazy of getting rid of this functionality, keep in mind that you still have the go codes, and those are actually much better to synchronize waypoints for a number of reasons, but let's not get into that. Anyways, what I'm trying to tell you right here is that right now the dragging functionality can be used to set up waypoint loops. So if you want to do that, you would hold down your left control key and drag from a later waypoint to an earlier waypoint. And what I mean by that is, for example, you can take the second waypoint and try to loop that to a later one because you're going to get an error message. Again, hold down control and drag your left mouse button from a later waypoint to an earlier waypoint like this. Boom. Now you have your loop set up. So this is going to send Mr. Campbell here on a never-ending little journey that he can use to circle me as he's doing right now. I feel a bit creeped out by this. Anyways, now I kind of want him to cut it out because it's getting really awkward. So what I do is I just hold down control and drag my left mouse button away from any waypoint for that matter, and that's gonna make him complete his last cycle and then come to an end. Alright, next highlight of this update would be HighCommand support for planning mode, and this comes in two different modes. I don't want to get too technical. Basically, which one kicks in is dependent on the fact whether your player's unit is synced to a HighCommand module via the editor. In this first example, my unit is synchronized to these modules via the editor. So I have two units and I'm sending them on their own little route. And now I'm going to disband them to the reserve one by one so they both have their own group. So before I could do that already and they would keep executing the orders, but I had no way to interact with that anymore. But now you have a HighCommand page at your disposal which you can use to do exactly that. First of all, if you're synced to HighCommand module, you might have default HighCommand groups. So to distinguish that, the ones that you disbanded are going to be called Kilo something, and HC something or HighCommand something, in other words, are going to be the default groups that are already in your HighCommand. So you can see that the waypoints transcribed into default Arma waypoints, and you can now interact with them. Sorry if I hover over them and get this shitty scripting error. It means nothing. I reported that to Bohemia. You just have to bear with that right now. Anyways, you can still move markers around with your left mouse button and interact with your right mouse button, and that's actually a little benefit right here because this default Arma HighCommand context menu is pretty complex and you can do a lot of fancy shit in there. which I don't have available in the other mod that you don't even know yet, so let's do it one by one. Anyways, you can select a group, and in a perfect world it was working until the hotfix. This unit will be illuminated right now, so you know that you selected this guy. Doesn't work at the given time, so if you are somewhere on the map and you don't know who the hell Kilo 2 is, you hold Control and click the button, and that's going to center the map on that unit. That's the best I can do until they fix it. Sorry for that. Anyways, clicking on the map is going to add waypoints. I know that's the opposite of what it is on the default Arma map, but I find it easier this way, and sorry, I'm building this mod for myself primarily, so you have to bear with me on this one. So just click on the map to add more waypoints, but let's say there's a bunch of zombies over here and you want this guy to turn around. You just hold down Control and then click on the map, and that's going to delete every other waypoint and just set one waypoint on the location where you want to force your unit into. So this is the default HighCommand. Let's look at what it looks like if your unit is not synchronized to the module via the editor, which is the far more likely situation that you're going to be facing, especially in multiplayer. So I have Team Red that I'm sending out on a little route, and I'm disbanding them to the reserve all at the same time, just to refresh that memory that if once you hit disband, the units that you have selected at the given time are going to be disbanded into the same group. Anyways, you see these red lines and custom markers right now. That's my module that's not really a module for HighCommand, which is going to work regardless of if you're synchronized to that via the editor or not. And one benefit that's pretty obvious is that you don't need to be on the HighCommand page to see and interact with these lines. The second good news is you can also move those around and interact with them via the right-click context menu, but that's the bad part. My interaction menu is not as complex at the given time, but you can still set the stances, the speed, and also delete an individual waypoint, like this one, for example. But the good thing is you have stance axis, which you don't have in the default one, and this one is actually fully real-time, so you can see that I changed it right here, and they are actually crouching now. If I set it back to standing, those guys are going to stand up and keep running, so that's something that you don't even get from the default Arma HighCommand interaction. So still same thing. It's a little bit harder to actually navigate because I don't have a way to visualize yet that you have this guy selected in the tablet. But anyways, for the rest it stays the same. Just select the unit and add waypoints by just clicking on the map. If you find out that there's a shitstorm happening over here and you're like, I'm just gonna like turn around and head the other way, hold down Control and place a waypoint on the map. So the reason why I think this is so powerful and has such a big impact on your gameplay, or can have at least, is that now you get to maintain the same level of control on two different levels of command. And all I mean by that is that me and my squad should be able to focus on squad shit, meaning that we shouldn't be able to interfere with any other unit's plans or whatever. And it's really easy, for example, to accidentally order units back into formation that you don't even consider a real part of your group at the given time. So now it's cool that you can disband those guys. For example, this Marshall crew down here, I'll just disband him, and I'll disband like split up my fire team up here into two different fire teams, and have these guys, for example, take my right flank like this. Take the right flank, just set that up real quick, and then have the armor move through the city down here. And then me and my group, we will also go down there, but we'll go through the middle and we'll be minding our own goddamn business while everybody else is doing the same thing. These guys are moving on the right flank, I'm going through the middle, and then we have Mr. Marshall down here somewhere. There he is. and he's also clearing his own side of town. And that is great, because now if I order my guys back into formation, I really can't screw anything up. But then if I want to interfere with some plans down here, I can still totally do that and change everything. So that's cool, because now I still have some level of control over these guys, but it's not going to screw with my own group. So that's cool. Then again, if I want to join them back, I can either do that separately by going to the HighCommand page and then right-clicking on a button and rejoining that group, or I can simply just click on the rejoin all button, which is going to rejoin them all to my group. So I can like go back and forth between these two different modes and disband and rejoin units the way it was already intended to and was working before, but now I can still control them. Boom. Also, may I add, I almost forgot that, if you set up a loop for a unit and then you disband it to the reserve, it's also going to create a looping waypoint. So you can do that, set up a patrol, disband that unit or that group, whatever, and it's going to keep running in circles because I love you. Simple as that. Alright, so much for the new updates and functions that we have available in planning mode. Let's take a look at the new goodies that we get for the Radial menu. Someone smart on the Bohemia forums recommended that upon opening the Radial menu, you select all units unless you have units pre-selected. For example, only unit number 3. If you open it, then it's only going to affect unit number 3. But if you have no units selected, by default it's going to select everyone. And then the tricky part, where I started taking it a little bit further, is the first time you click on one of these color icons, it's going to select only that team. After that, it's going to switch back into the default selection where you add or deselect units. So meaning that you open it up and you only want to use Team Green, then you just click on Team Green. But if you want to use Team Green and Team Red, you click on Team Green and Team Red, and then you have both of them selected. So that's number 1. Number 2 is just very simple but very useful in my opinion, because it just combines this auto reset looking direction and auto stance into one button, and that would be the brain button. Now it has a function. So if you click on it, you're going to see that all these units are going to switch into auto looking and auto stance. So that can be very handy if you just order units back into formation, but some of them are crouched and looking somewhere and all of that crazy shit. You just hit the brain and they do what you want. Alright, this next function is something that I hate to have to put into this add-on, because tactical teleportation, last time I checked, isn't really a thing on modern battlefields still at the given time. But we all know that our AI buddies, as much as we love them at times, they are not very known for making the best life decisions, and also not very known for the most creative problem solving. So how do we fix this? With the limitation of no enemy unit within 200 meters having a line of sight on this dude right here. And by line of sight, I just mean some line. If the guy's looking away, it's still not going to work. Maybe I'll change that. This is just work in progress, but what I want to prevent, you might guess it, is that a multiplayer, some other player is trying to shoot your AI units and you end up teleporting them all over the place to save their lives. That's not going to fly in Matt Cheese's book. So it only works if there is no enemy unit within 250 meters with a line of sight on your guy. So if you want to teleport the guy and free him from his misery, who's this? This is unit number 9. Great. The only guy who also has no ammo is a little bit of a troublemaker, Mr. Blackburn. Anyways, I select him and then I bring up the Radial menu, and then because left and right click is already taken, I need to hold down Shift, which should be convenient, and press any left or right mouse key, and that's going to teleport the guy to a safe position, first within 5 meters, then 10, 15, 20, 25, and I think ultimately 30, because after that things get awkward and you need to look for the guy on the map, which is not going to happen. So that's a way to free your units. Also works with multiple units at the same time, of course. So that's cool, because now you can unstuck and unfuck your situations. Boom, someone turned off the light because they knew that we needed to get a little bit more cozy and intimate for the next little feature. And that's also something that people requested, and to be honest, I thought I was doing them a favor putting it in there, but then it turns out it's the other way around. They're doing me a huge favor because that's a kick-ass idea and I didn't really see the value of it for whatever reason before. But anyways, long story short, that feature is fire on my lead. And that means basically that your units are going to hold fire until you fire your weapon, and that's the signal to for those other units to open fire. So I'll just hit the radial menu button, selecting all units, and then up here in the ROE section you can see this little gun, because I didn't have any better ideas, icon. And once you click that, that's gonna switch your units into holding fire. And now I need to make a little fancy cut. Okay, great. My units are still holding fire. I set up this little fire team patrolling the road. So now as soon as I open fire, my other units are gonna take that as the signal to also open fire. To make it perfect, I'll select all these units here and right-click on this marker, select attack to perfectly distribute the targets. Fast forward this because this guy's going to be saying a lot of shit. Okay, now they're ready to fire. I fire my weapon, the other guys open fire. All have their individual targets assigned, and it's a really quick job. That's how it should be done, ladies and gentlemen. The only thing that I screwed up, now that I think about it, is that silencers would have been a good idea. But this is just a tutorial, so it doesn't even matter. So that's a great function. Thanks to Froggy Love and all the other people who requested this. This was a great idea. That wraps up the new features and updates and highlights and all of that good stuff. At least the bigger load and the more prominent things that you can see in Command and Control version 1.4.4. Thanks you guys for all the support and feedback and even just playing the damn thing over the last year. Please bear with me with some of the new functionality. Gently report bugs if you see them show up, especially as far as the HighCommand is concerned. I need to sort of think about everything once again, and yeah, that's a lot of work to do, so I might have forgotten some things, but thanks a lot for everything, and I hope you enjoy these new features, and I'll see you guys very soon.